A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for giving us your time and being over here for attending this meeting. My name is Abhilash and I will be one of your hosts for the meeting. And along with my colleagues, I just wanted to welcome Mr. Suvijit Sen Gupta, who's the Industry 4.0 Solutions Specialist from Geogo Techno Solutions. Along with him, it would be Mr. Ajay Prabhu, who's the Director for Business Development from Geogo. A very warm welcome to all our distinguished speakers and all our colleagues and the participants who have joined this program. So quickly, I will take you through the presentations. So we are Indus Tech Private Limited. Is my screen visible? Can somebody confirm me?
Yes, it is visible, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are focused as a digitalization solution provider in the area of bringing in technology into the engineering and the manufacturing space. So this is the key area that we operate as an organization. And so as to give you a brief about like where we started our journey, the journey started way back in year 2010 when we started our operations as the Siemens PLM partner focused towards the Middle East region. Like most of the organizations, like, over the period of time, we have also scaled up with respect to the geographies, with respect to the kind of industries that we are catering to, and also with respect to the solutions that we are able to support our customers with. Our clientele includes customers from automotive, aerospace, defense, electric vehicle, and heavy industrial machineries. And as the number of customers started increasing, we realized that having a technology center in India will be very advantageous. And that in year 2015, we started our India operations. Now, over the couple of years, it was building an organization that was strong in the areas. And we scaled up not just only as a CAD software provider, further to be able to cater to the overall manufacturing engineering requirements and portfolios, and also supporting some of the customers in the entire product lifecycle management. So when we look at it, we understand that every customer and businesses are different, and they also have a similar type, they also have a different set of problems. So to understand these problems, we need a multidisciplinary team that is able to look into these problems. And over a past span of time, we have been able to build a team which is very multidisciplinary in nature, who can understand these business challenges and provide solutions based on that. So if you overall see, like, the team is actually a mix of mechanical, robotics, automation, plus information technology professionals who are working into this space. Now, the key area is how we are able to support our customers, be it making better their top line or improving the bottom line. And based on the problems and based on the customer needs, we try and address these points. So if you see, this is just a solution portfolio, where we have catered all our services, like starting with design, validation, manufacturing, quality, operations, and process. And though I know, like, I will not have much time to go deeper into that, but we would like to take these questions, once our main topic, which is basically on the IoT as today, goes ahead. We would like to take more questions in this session. If not possible, you could also write to us to our mail ID, that is sales@industech.com, and we would be ready to happy to give you the answers or the solutions which presently, in case any of your any of the companies know, which are presently facing any sort of challenges. So we would like to do that. Without going much into the details, I would like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Suvijit Sen Gupta, who's the Industry 4.0 Solutions Specialist from Geogo, and he will take us through today's topic, which is decoding IoT, which is very interesting, as well as it would be very interesting to hear from his side. Thank you, Suvijit, for being here, and the stage is all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Abhilash. Thank you for setting up the stage and setting up this context where we can discuss about a very interesting and useful topic of today in the industry, which is about Industry 4.0 and IoT in context of Industry 4.0. So, good afternoon, everybody. So, and I hope that I think I have 90 minutes, right? Today, how is the session planned, Abhilash?
Yes, Suvajit.
Okay, okay. So, see, I'm for the next 90 minutes that I hope that the time that you have put in by joining this webinar, you get the maximum out of it. If you have anything around Industry 4.0 and IoT, that is a point that you want to discuss or want to get it clarified, please use me for that purpose and make it happen. So make the maximum utilization of the time. So that is what as is a key takeaway should be, which I will be very satisfied doing that. So having said that, I just do want to do a quick check. I hope I'm loud and clear. I am visible. Just a quick chat message, LNC from someone will can confirm that very quickly. And in the meantime, let me share my screen so that yeah, hope my screen is visible, right?
Yes, Suvajit. The screen is visible and you are also audible.
Okay, great. So with this, let us begin. And during my presentation, if you have any queries, feel free to use your chat window to type in the questions. Maybe I can pick it up from there and attend to it. Number one. Number two is like I expect that this to make the session useful for all. Please be on mute if needed. You can just unmute and speak, or that is also fine, not a problem. But generally, be on mute. And other thing is like some cases you might need a pen and paper. Keep a note, pen and paper along with you. A notebook sometimes helps a lot. I have certain topics under the hood which needs which can you can take it further for a longer period. So it's a knowledge delivering session, and that's why I might request you to keep a pen and paper with you. And along with that, so let me begin about today's topic, which I wanted to discuss is about IoT in context of Industry 4.0. And myself as a practitioner of as an Industry 4.0 solution specialist, I wish to share my experience and certain point of view, and also to make certain things where there are a lot of jargons around that. I will try to make those jargons simple for you to understand, and in certain terminologies or terms which you think that you need some discussion around that, please feel free to put it up. I will be happy to answer to them today. So with that, so let me introduce myself. I am having around 18 years experience. I am primarily from software development background, started my career as a software developer, and then I was into VLSI domain. I'm working on that, and then gradually moved into GIS and telemetry. So gradually I moved into certain aspect which involve more of machine to machine communication, GIS, GPS communication, and gradually I have turned into a where it came into automation and industrial automation. And if you say M2M, machine to machine communication, that is the precursor of what we talk about IoT today. So the protocol, the how it used to work 10 years back and how it is done now. So I had seen the change. I have been working with companies primarily based in US and Europe. So there are certain cases where we have seen the kind of a technology adoption which was higher then and there, whereas in India the adoption was lower, but gradually it is picking up. So I can give you certain context which is beyond the geography or the beyond the current process and systems that we are using or seeing. So I can give some perspective to that. And on the other end, as I'm a software architect and an agile practitioner, so I believe in the principles of the which again about how to do it in a Kanban model or a Scrum model of project management. So I'm an evangelist there. So I try to incorporate that in all my projects that I work, where I get a very good return on using those techniques and principles. So myself, so I founded Geogo Tech Solutions in 2016. And just to talk about our focus in Geogo is to make simplify the digital technology for businesses, as we have seen that as there are a large set of businesses, and as we have seen technology is becoming a very not and support function. IT or information technology had been a support function for a lot of businesses, be it in trading, finance, banking, even manufacturing. So those have, but gradually and post COVID, we have been seeing that technology is becoming the core of every business, and certain businesses are starting with keeping the technology at their core itself, though they are into their function is into say supply chain management or something, or a D2C, or into manufacturing where they're going direct to consumer. So technology is the core, and that's why we have seen a lot of businesses have find a tough time to make use of this digital technology. Our mission in Geogo is to simplify them. We are a agile software services company based in Bangalore and Kolkata. We have two centers. We are also expanding. Our main core area of work is Industry 4.0, which involves IoT, cloud, web, big data, and process automation. We have certain products which focus on asset maintenance, monitoring, and tracking, which also brings in the parts of where data been sent through IoT and hardwares and sensors and pushed to the cloud, and where we do base of analytics and analysis on top of it, and providing solutions where and is delivered via mobile phone. We have solutions like that where we are trying to see the whole asset monitoring and maintenance in a different dimension, which simplifies things much better. And along with that, we also believe that the kind of a knowledge we can increase. And anyways, technology means it's a knowledge industry, so can increase by sharing it and talking, discussing with people about it. And that's why training and capacity building is also a part of us offering that we do. And maybe that's why the session today that we are hosting is where we want to disseminate the knowledge that we have. And also it's not, we prefer that it does not happen one way. We would like to hear and listen from you, and maybe that can be, we can be a learning from us. So if you have certain anecdotes from your business and your industry, feel free to share with us. It can be your certain problems and challenges that we are facing. We and through that together we can have a forum where we can learn together. It can see that way. Yeah, and primarily we are working in the domain of manufacturing, transportation, and utilities. That's about Geogo, and we are partnered with Industech to bring in digital solution in the primarily into the manufacturing space, where we see there's a lot of need is there and the demand is there. So that's it. And here to begin with, I was thinking to keep two options, which is like in talking in terms of what is IoT and what is the getting into the basics of IoT. But I think here people in the room have lot of introduction about this topic. So I will not get into the details, but I will prefer to get into certain points, which is about where implementation of IoT we find a challenge, and we also talk about certain myths that I have seen, because in course of my project and working with talking to our clients, we have seen there are a lot of myths around taking IoT and going and implement on your in your business or in your factory. There are a lot of kind of myths around that. So I want to talk about that and what are the facts behind it, which can break some kind of kind of which I say is like a cold feet which people develop going forward in implementing IoT or Industry 4.0 solution. Because what I see is like a lot of people are talking about Industry 4.0, but when it comes up about implementing or doing it or getting benefit out of it, very few people are jumping into it and make it actually useful or implementation. So that's why I would prefer to look into and the myths of it. So, and the third thing is like for sure the whole gamut of Industry 4.0, which is again as IoT is a subset of that, and we talk in terms of digital transformation, and most of the business today are getting a direction being from their management that you need to get ready for Industry 4.0. So when it comes of in terms of industry 4.0, it's a wide gamut altogether, and no organization can do it all together. So it has to be there are certain partners has to be brought in, certain vendors has to be brought in. So I would also like to talk about that. How do you? I have 3 points to talk about that. How which kind of when you are going for a vendor selection, how do you select and what points you should take a note so that you can find your suitable vendor to implement your industry 4.0 solution. So along with that, let me talk about briefly about industry 4.0 because just a second, I just need to please hold on for a second. I just need a minute. Abhilash.
Yes, so which?
Yeah, sorry, I was having someone at the door. Yes, so coming back, yes, Abhilash, you have.
Yes, we can hear you, Suvajit.
Okay, fine. So let me resume. I will just quickly like to touch a point about Industry 4.0, because though the topic is an IoT, but IoT is something under the or Industry 4.0 is something which need to hint on. And talking about is like if Industry 4.0 or version 4 that we talk about, we should know about version 3, 2, and 1. Let me tell why, because it's very important to know is like when we talk about Industry 4.0, that means what was expected in 3.0 or what was done in 3.0. And so that you know the thing that you are implementing, whether it's Industry 4.0 or is something beyond. So that's why if you see Industry 1.0 is when in the 18th century is like it started with the mechanization, steam powered. Ideally, the driver has been the steam engine. When we actually built steam engine, that is where the Industry 1.0 started. And the mechanization started. And where the actual the concept or the term factory started coming in with Industry 4 1.0, and the main driver had been steam engine. After that, we have seen 2.0. 2.0 was more about mass production, assembly lines, and the driver has been electricity. So where the steam engines were replaced by electricity, and the machines were running on electricity, and that was mostly around the 19th century, though the higher or the accelerated use of Industry for 2.0 we have seen during the World War, First World War and Second World War, where it has get a flip or to move faster. Followed by that is like after that it's the Industry 3.0 had been taken a longer time, and it is around which where the electronics and information technology was the key driver for Industry 3.0, where we have seen most kind of an automation, the computers being used and electronic systems being used in the factories, are where the Industry 3.0 has have started. So finally, Industry 4.0, when we are talking about it, which is where the major driver for it is internet, and it is driven by cyber physical things, Internet of Things, networks, and it is not no more about just the machine and the automated functionality. It is more about multiple agents, machines, agents connected over a network in various geography, connected in one big system, and they are interoperating between themselves either with very few human intervention, and mostly run by automated systems, robots, AGVs, and systems like that. So that is what more about the Industry 4.0. And the major revolutionary, when you are saying the in the part of Industry 4.0 which is happening, there are two things. One is the Internet of Things, which is IoT, which is the network of interconnected smart devices, and mostly connected over an internet and connected and interacting between each other. And the other component which we most of the time we don't refer or miss out, that I want to stress on, is about the Internet of Systems. This is like the business owned system that collect data from the IoT network and make independent decision about your business. So that means the currently taking the real-time data feed from what being currently being manufactured or currently what is there in your warehouse, taking an account of that and trying to launch a marketing campaign or a sales follow-up from that is something which you can think of an Internet of Systems. So let me give a simple example for that. How it works is like, say today when we have to run a marketing campaign, so sometimes we feel like, okay, if our warehouse is stocked where the production is higher or certain items has been produced more, and we have a stock pile up in the warehouse, those are the things where we have to be first detected. Someone has to report that from the warehouse. So mostly the warehouse system will report, or your ERP system somewhere. When you do a search, you find that, okay, these are the items that I am having more in stock, and we need to do something to get rid of those stock. So that means then it becomes more like a plan, then followed by a search activity, finding the system, and when it comes, then launch a campaign around that and to make it happen. So this is how currently it is done, and in some cases it takes, so it the cycle is too long, and there are certain cases there can be product which is when it is taking so much of time to do it, it might be the shelf life might exceed. So that is where the kind of an Internet of Systems might work, where we can talk about, assume that your warehouse is equipped with an RFID or a tracking system, which automatically any point of time you log into the system and do a search and tell, in my warehouse what are the items that have been stocked for last more than 30 days, and in how much quantity, let me know. So if you can just like a Google search, you do a search and the system tells, okay, here it is. These are the SKUs in your warehouse which are having, which is more than waiting and being stored in the warehouse for more than 30 days. And it is in quantity of say 500 units. So that is where immediately from there itself we can launch. They say based on the search result, you say launch a campaign, and you say I want to clear it off. I want to give a 50% discount on this, and you launch a campaign from that. And that gets when you launch the campaign, assume wherever you launch the campaign, that is where your either your distributors or your maybe the directly the retailers, or it can be a D2C. Say assume the product is D2C, it goes a directly campaign which goes live on your Facebook page or your website, which says that this product today is next 3 days is available at 50% discount. And from there the sales order comes directly and the product gets moved out. So this is where the power play of IoT and Internet of System comes into being, and that is what is a real industry 4.0 power play that we see. And thus it is just one use case I'm just trying to hint on or giving an understanding. But does it make sense? So I would like to have someone volunteer and quickly say, like, the use case that I'm spoken about is Industry 4.0 implementation. Does it make sense? Could you figure it out, or it still looks like it's you need some, it is not so clear? Does the use case, anyone, can I have someone volunteer and talk about that?
Yes, Subhajit, it is clear.
Okay, great. So, see, that's why I want to make the session also interactive and as lively as possible, because I want to break and decode certain things. Like if you have come to this session with certain questions in mind and certain things that you want out of it, and then you leave the session still with the question in mind, then we will think that this session is not has been useful. So that's why try to utilize the as max as possible, utilize me or my knowledge that is there around it, utilize it to try to clear around that. Then it will be we will think that this session will be much more satisfactory for us. Anyway, so that's one example that I've given, but on Industry 4.0 is just not IoT. Industry 4.0 connects a big gamut of 9 sub segments currently standing today, but I don't know tomorrow there can be certain other items might get added into it. But currently standing today, and I foresee like in next 3 to 4 years, we don't expect that too big amount of separate new technology coming in to replace. So what are those? If you ask me, when you talk about, if someone says is that it is Industry 4.0, it may be either one of them or a combination of this, but most of the cases I have seen when we true implementation of Industry 4.0 happens, when any three of this component is getting actually implemented in your business or the factory, then you can say that is Industry 4.0. Just talking about, just I'm talking about IoT. If someone says I have implemented industry IoT in my factory and I am Industry 4.0, may not be possible. If you ask me why, let me explain. If you say Internet of Things, it is just connecting sensors to your machine, which will read the data at a close frequency and store the data in wherever you ask him to store. So you can do it with the IoT. But if you just store the data and just leave it there, do you think that it will benefit anything out of it? No. You can only derive benefit once you take the data out, do some analysis on top of it, and try to solve some specific problem in terms of maintenance or in terms of production or in terms of storage utilization. So anything on a business context, if you are solving something out of it, then only there is a purpose of the Industry 4.0 actually gets implemented. So that's why just IoT putting in sensors and storing the data is of no use. The other thing that you can do, yes, then what do? No, I want to store it in some database, and from there I do want to do the analysis. But now the problem might come in is like where the data is collected, maybe in your factory which is remotely located, and the analysis is done by the head office where your data or analysis team is sitting and doing that. If they have to come and collect the data and do, then also it is not a good way. They might ask, no, send us the data and certain servers where we can also access. So that's why the cloud thing comes in, where you say, okay, no, now the sensors will send the data to the cloud over the internet. They will push the data into some cloud servers like AWS or Azure or something, or your own servers. It will push the data there, and then they can pull down the data from that server and do the analytics or the reporting from there itself and present it. So that means what? If you see the IoT, cloud computing, and big data analytics put three together is actually solving a problem of your business. So that is how it is done. Same way, like cyber security is one of them, but cyber security in a standalone, for example, if your machines are all logged in and you don't have anything on the cloud, or you don't have any IoT implementation, cyber security just is not required, because you are working in a very island mode and you are not at all connected to internet. So in that case, your cyber security point just alone is not needed or useful. Same way for vertical and horizontal integration, it is more about your IT OT integration. We can talk about it. So where your lot of other information technology systems are there, and you want to bring in the OT system, but integrating that and then picking up the data from there, you need IoT and again cloud computing somewhere there. So that's why I'm talking about that. If you see all the 9 components on the screen, to read it out: IoT, big data and analytics. Number 3, cloud computing. Number 4, cyber security. Number 5, horizontal and vertical integration. You can think of this one more about the IT and OT integration also. Number 6 is about the robotics. So anyways, that in some cases the robotics are currently, it can work independently. A lot of factories they're using and locally being doing that, but that also a part of the Industry 4.0. Augmented reality, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, you can say that way. And number 9 is simulation. So running in a digital mode and running the process or running the production itself in a simulated environment and see what is the outcome and what are the gaps, pitfalls, and then fix it. So that is another part of Industry 4.0. So this hope mostly comprises of your Industry 4.0 solution today, and maybe a certain number of years in the future also. So that is about the IoT within the context of Industry 4.0. So if I just try to break down Internet of Things, if someone have a question in my mind that what is Internet of Things, you can read it like this: when a thing, so thing, when you talk about internet, everyone know what is internet, but why the thing, the word thing is coming in. Actually this term was coined by Cisco itself, but when they talk about thing means any device or a control equipment. So that is what is a thing. You can, when it is talking, that means a device or a control equipment, when it connects to the internet directly, it is IoT. There are certain devices which may not connect to the internet directly. So, for example, there is a device which reads the data and then can only transfer data to your local laptop when the laptop is connected through one, says data cable or a serial cable, and it is only transfer that. Then it is not IoT. It is just whichever the sensor was there, it is just dumping the data into locally into a device. So that means when a device or a control equipment connects to the internet directly, then only it becomes Internet of Things. So it's a very abstract concept, but the application is very much in your daily life. For example, if you see Alexa, if you have used Alexa, you give a voice message to or a command to Alexa, it can take it and it can say, for example, Alexa, switch on the light in room number 1. So this is as a command, but Alexa can sense and recognize that command, and then it can translate that into an actionable item, or which is like a signal, which goes from that Alexa to the cloud, and cloud back to your the device or the control or the switch which is there. It identifies that, and the command goes to that, as a signal goes to that switch, which switches off the light. And that is how it is being done. And though and if you see, it's a, when the power play is happening, it's a power play of a network of cyber physical system which are working in sync. So that is where you have one device which is a sensing, which a mic device in terms of Alexa when you are talking about. So Alexa takes that in, and then it sends out to the cloud, where, or in some cases it locally can also do some kind of a translation job, and it translates that and into an actionable item and sends as a command to a device which is again onto the cloud. That command is relayed back to your local sensor which is there in the room. It can read that command and take the action, like which is switching off the light. So that is if it's a simple example of IoT in working is this. So same way now you can think of it is like how it can happen in terms of, that is what, when this thing happens, you call this home as a smart home. Same way, like if you do the similar things in your factory or in the manufacturing process, you can call it as a smart factory. So that's why when any IoT application along with cloud and other AI and other system put together, it actually makes each of these systems smart. So when you, in terms of the energy production or energy transmission context, you do that, you make it smart using IoT and the other modern technologies, it becomes, it's called a smart grid. If you use in your farm, or in the context of agriculture, it's a smart farm which you have built. Same way, when you have done certain city functions means which is in like switching on of the light, or sensing when there's a garbage vat is filled already filled up, or detect when the water flow that is being done to sense that and count that. So anything around as a urban function that you do and you put all of this, you can then term that as a smart city. So these are all terms that we have all very much aware of it, but how it actually works and how can we make it, I see that there are a lot of gap in talking about, like if I tell you, how can you define if this city is smart or not? So I see some poll here, Abhilash. Is this for the attendees to?
Yes, Vijit, we have planned for a polling just as to know the feedback. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
If you want to pass some message to our attendees for this, maybe I can pause a bit here and you can
No, because
introduce.
there are 5 set of questions what we have planned, but they will come after, like, 15 minutes interval.
Oh, okay,
It
okay. So
shouldn't be a
after,
problem. Yes.
okay, so there will be a question coming in and everyone can just take it up, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. Anyways, then I am just opting out. Yeah, fine. Thank you. So that is all about the IoT application. So today we are talking about autonomous cars and ADAS and systems like that. So that is again making your car smart. And most of the cases you have the code, there are certain IoT or there are sensors, and then the sensors connecting to internet and doing something on the ground is what is happening. So smart car, smart health, smart store, all of these are basic. The basis is same. Now, the next topic that I want to talk about is how is in my presentation. This is a general presentation that I do, so which is about how IoT works. I think it's a very deep technical one. I will just run through that, but maybe I will not talk a detail about it. If needed, maybe we can do another session and talk about that. But I will quickly go through about that, like what are the 5 key functions in an IoT system, like where the data is being brought in, which is the ingestion of the data, then the data is transmitted over certain protocols, like LoRa, say NB-IoT, Zigbee, Bluetooth. So I think you have heard of a lot of protocol names, these terms. You have already heard about that, but these are what are those, and if you want to know and what should you know about to make a maximum use of it, we can have a discussion or a different session altogether, because it's a very deep technical thing, and I'm not sure whether the session is, because our agenda is today different. So I will just skip about it, just on the like what are the 5 components of IoT platform, how a standard IoT system stack works. So from sensors to gateway to carrier to IoT server, the business rule and making the impact. So that is all about it. Same way, let me move on IoT in manufacturing. I think though it is today's context might be useful for someone, like how an automation, because till industry 3.0 has been pushing for automation pyramid. So it's more of a pyramid from field IO to control PLC to MES or SCADA system to ERP. So it was always like a pyramid, whereas industry 4.0, and that is why if you see the left is what we have most of the cases now, and the right is what industry 4.0 proposes, and that is why it's a big difference in the implementation in industrial IoT segment. When you're talking about IIoT, it's IoT along with certain common notions of manufacturing. Yes.
Sir, your screen is not visible. Only SS only this is visible. Your screen is not visible, sir. For me, I don't.
For anyone else, others, it is visible. IoT for
No,
industry.
it is visible. It is
Okay.
visible. You
Okay.
can see the screen.
So,
Yeah, we
Mr.
can see the
Dhanraj,
screen.
Yes, sir.
can you check anything on your side if it is
It
out
was
of?
disconnected. My phone call was there. It was disconnected. After that, I am not visible. I am not seeing the touch screen, sir.
Okay, okay, fine then. Okay, so I can move on then. Yeah, thank you. So this is about because another topic or the term which we use is IIoT, which is industrial IoT. That the point here is like a lot of people talk about is like what is the difference between IoT and industrial IoT? No, a lot of people say no. You say what is IoT? You know. Now when industry uses IoT, it's industrial IoT. So it's a easy way of defining it, but I think that can create a lot more confusion. That's why I would like to hint on that is like it's industrial IoT. When it talks about, it is talking about not only just about putting sensors and getting the data and analyzing that. That thing has been a lot of this is being done from long time. Like if you think about PLC and SCADA system, it is there for last 20 years. It's there, right? So if you say PLC and SCADA and taking the data out and I'm just analyzing it and I have industry 4.0 ready, then it is wrong. When we talk about industrial IoT, we are actually talking about is changing the notion of how the automation is done, where the automation in industry 3.0 or whatever currently is there was a pyramid. And then I'll talk about what are the challenges in the pyramid versus what it is talking about automation pillar, where between the field IO to your ERP system, there is a direct connectivity or a channel where we most of some cases we can bypass the system of MES, and the control PLCs can also be the PLC. The concept of PLC, the concept of SCADA, and the concept of MES becomes very thin or non-functional in an industrial IoT when we are talking in the modern terms. Where we are talking about, forget about PLC, just your Aditya Kumar, can you be on mute, please? Yes, thank you. So this is one point which I want to stress on is like when you then how it will work. Like you might think is like okay, today if a PLC is not there, how can you think of automation and things working? So ideally, if you think of in the dark factories, how it is working is like there are no people or a person who is at the shop floor tracking and managing and monitoring things. So things are being controlled by a remote control, which is somewhere out, and it is done via the kind of an over the internet connectivity, where you can think of is like every sensors and controls that you are having, each having one node or an anchor on it, means a node on it, which can pass their data to the nearby system, which is like an anchor, which is like via Bluetooth or via RFID. It can send that data to that node, and which then can take all the data from all the nodes put together and send it out, and send it out for the remote action from where the data can be visualized if you're out of the site, and even controls can be sent from the remote to take the actions which is there. So maybe for the first level, the things might look complex, but if the concept, if you can get ideally right, it might help in a lot of cases when you are talking about industrial IoT, and just not and how it can can bypass the whole automation pyramid, because this is where actually there are a lot of problem which we see it as. Number one is like it's a biggest, so many layers put together actually that is not adding value, and in some cases it's becoming more complex to manage, and it's become so complex, and so and since it is complex, it is that means if you know, that means there are few companies who can be doing and doing that. It not everyone can do it. That is number one. Number two is like it will be costly. So anything that is complex, people will say okay, it's a complex, that might be, that means it might be costly, it should be costly, and that's why it is ideally costly. And lot of cases in cases where we are having machines and we don't try to even I can say today even more than 60% of the machine that are in small and medium scale factories that they're operating are having a PLC itself. It's just one simple local control through which they operate manually. So and one of the major reason for this is I can attribute is this automation pyramid itself, where the things we have made over the period so complex, and it is tied to certain businesses or vendors who can only do that job, and making it costlier is a very detrimental for certain businesses, whoever having who are small and medium and having problem in terms of buying or maintaining this complex system. They can't take the advantage of the whole industry 4.0. If that's why if you see industry 3.0 has already happened and passed over, but the things that needs to be done in 3.0, a lot of organizations are not doing that at all. So why they are not doing it? Maybe this is one of the reason, which is one of the factor for which it is not happening, and that's why industry 4.0 and with IoT whichever is coming in is actually trending towards telling that automation is for all. Automation is not only for few businesses who can only afford it. So it's more of a democratization of the technology or the automation in the industrial context. So that is how you should see it, and not telling, because if that's why the whole topic around which I want to talk about is like, yes, what are the benefits? Let me talk about, then I will come to the main topic of today's agenda, which is the IoT myths, and how and what are the facts and why we need to break them. So now coming to the point is like, what are the benefits that I will get it if I am talking about IoT? What is my benefit? So number one is like a benefit that you get putting an IoT is getting informed real time. Now certain things which I come to hear as saying okay, certain things I know it is happening, every detail I don't want to know. What will my benefit knowing what my machine is doing at every second? Why I need to know that? As long my output is coming fine and I am managing my it is doing, I why should I get into the details? So but having informed real time doesn't mean that every update has to come to you, but having informed real time gives you the power which can help you to analyze and understand how the your system is performing and working, whether it is efficient or not. So it gives you like in terms of stock or warehouse management, it will give you very improved inventory management rather than doing a manually check or depending on people who are actually doing those counting and keeping those registers and updated. It might be prone to error, because when you are growing and if you have more numbers, it sometimes becomes the human process becomes too tedious and too complex and lengthy. So and that is where you lose the speed, and in today's business, speed is a very important factor which you need to take into concern whatever we are doing or planning to do. So in this case, with the informed real time, as in a warehouse, if you are putting IoT, you can get an improved inventory management. And the supply chain, when you are say assuming that you are putting trackers in your device and you are putting tags on your items, like it can be as simple as a QR code, like how much does it cost to put a QR code on your product, or on your box that is being dispatched. It's and very negligible, but just one QR code and with one mobile app which is being distributed, just one scan good enough to collect the information, send the information out, and you can get a much better visibility in your supply chain with a proper and a very detailed track and trace mechanism which you can do in, right? So same way, the product quality can be improved, product design feedback can be collected, and that's why altogether what you see, you can achieve certain agility in your business where you will be fast to react and respond, even being remote. And this remote world has been even become more important and useful and needed in post COVID, which we have seen. So that's why now one of the key thing about implementing IoT is like getting informed real time and taking the benefits out of it. And the second thing is like along with the IoT, when you are bringing in trying to implement something, there are certain things which you try to bring the data into a single, all the data about your operations into one single place. And once you bring that, you can bring in a lot of things which you are actually doing routine. For example, a monitoring that you are doing today, you are doing on a routine monitoring or a routine maintenance can be replaced by condition based monitoring or a predictive maintenance, which can actually reduce the time effort that is needed today to get those things done. So same way, reducing downtime of your assets or machines that are running, saving in terms of the cost when you are actually monitoring it, and then you are seeing that how much being utilized, how much is a wastage. You can monitor those, and it can help in your cost saving. And finally, the safety compliance issues, anyways, it comes because what you are doing with an IoT implementation, you are actually setting some order, setting some process and systems in place, which can gradually lead to a bigger values which you can't measure, like safety, you can't measure. Okay, the compliance you can't measure. It's just when you are failing to do it and there is a mishap, or there is a unforeseen incident like fines and all those coming in, that is only we sit up and try to fix those. But by the time the damage is already done and you have to bear the cost for it. So it's being vigilant is one of the thing, and who can be more vigilant than putting some kind of sensors, and then these are your eyes and ears in your system. So that is what IoT is all about. And that's why if you ask me, I have some statistics for it, like the what are the top industrial IoT use cases. So if you see, the highest number is the in mostly in the manufacturing process, the operational intelligence today, as of it is a mostly 2021 statistics. It's a mostly I don't think it can encompasses anything about Asia. This data was picked up from IoT Analytics. They had some statistics from US manufacturing, means US businesses. The major usage of industrial IoT, if you see, is in operational intelligence. So when you talk about operational intelligence, that means to find out how your operations. That means even the gray one means in manufacturing. So in manufacturing process, the operation that is happening, how well it is being done, how effectively it is done. That is where the industrial IoT is being today utilized in maximum. Whereas other areas where you can see industrial IoT can make a difference and can have utility are asset monitoring and maintenance, predictive maintenance, remote monitoring, and remote service. So So that is what, but these numbers are, some are a very single digit number, whereas it's only the highest take is in terms of operational intelligence. So that is all about the IoT in context of industry 4.0 and manufacturing, because just a second. So when you talk about all of this, we have seen the benefits altogether, but if the question might come in, the what kind of challenges are there? Yes, it is surely there are challenges. It's not an piece of it's not a cakewalk that you decide today and tomorrow your IoT will be done and implemented. That is not going to happen. We have not reached that stage yet. So there are challenges still there. What are the major challenges? Let me list it down. So one of them is the high investment cost. So though today also people think about that anything around industry 4.0 or IoT we do is an we need to think of some high investment cost. So which is not, I will talk about in the next section, but generally you should know how to calculate that ROI for that kind of investment, and how there are certain standard way and how we can figure it out. But if your ROIs are strong enough, then anyways you will not think about that whether that investment is high or not. You will say no, we have need to do this investment because the return that we'll get in the exchange of that is quite good and valuable. So that is there, one of them. Second thing about IoT on the list is about the data security and threat. This is the biggest concern. Lot of businesses and customer things. Today I am working in my own silos. I have a controlled environment. I don't have any worries. Now when IoT comes in, means my data goes into cloud, sits in someone else's server, and in the transmission when it is going, there are channels from where it can also be tapped in. So that means all my business data, or it can be my IP, or certain my business data, customer data, whichever is there, can get exposed, and we can be at a threat. So and if it is breached, it can be of a big threat to us, and it can, that's why it's one of the second biggest challenge. And third thing is like, yes, as you know, it's about the connectivity outages. Okay, as of now it is locally controlled, I don't have any issues. Now we are putting the control out, and if there is a connectivity is not there, it's not stable, and then there it might affect my production, affect very much. So how to
Sir,
address?
sir,
Yes.
with respect to data security and threat, is SAP system is integrated with IoT?
See, when you talk about SAP system, it's an ERP, it's an IT system, right? You have to understand that it's an information technology IT systems. It has nothing to do with your hardware and nothing. It's a separate independent system where you put in some data, or be it in terms of, it can be your sales or it can be your operational data, what you put in there, and then you can generate, put all the data and generate report out of it. So
Yeah,
now, now,
for
yes,
example, if
yes,
SAP maintains data or a machine data,
mhm,
which is directly integrated to IoT system,
yes,
we generate the report like preventive maintenance report when the machine maintenance is done, when the activity is completed. So these data are generated through SAP reports. And if we want to connect to ERP to IoT, like ThingWorks or Azure or GE Predicts or
mhm,
Siemens,
mhm.
so how this data can be uh, secured?
See, security of the data is based on your the infrastructure. First level is the infrastructure that you are using, or through which your data is being transmitted. First of all, as because I will go into one slide. If I have to go to slightly detail, let me talk about it. Is like, see, the five key functions in IoT, as I've said, data ingestion, right? So that means the data is coming from your sensors. So sensors are where sensors are connected to your machine, right? So where the data is coming in. So when the data from the sensors you are reading in the ingestion, you don't have any problem, right? Because here it is not going out, it is within your site only. No problem. Now the next is like when you transmit the data. So the now the transmission of the data has, now the data that you have collected from site has to go to some system, some computer, where the data has to be, which can be stored for a larger amount of time with a larger storage. For example, like when you are talking about IoT sensors, all these devices have a very less capability of storage. The storage are very limited, so they can't store. So that's why we can't keep it at the site. We need to push it in some side where you have bigger storage. So bigger storage means when you are talking about when you can move it into the cloud, cloud gives you something like an unlimited storage kind of a thing, and that's why where we transmit. So this transmission, when we are going in, like whenever it is going to the internet, and the connection where the internet is there, that is the most vulnerable area. Okay, that you have to understand that, like the data going out from your site to the cloud and the data from the cloud being pushed into the back to this site. These are the two most vulnerable areas where the it can see data that the attack can happen and the data can be breached. That is number one. So in the transmission process, you have to secure that. So in the security of the transmission, there are certain levels which you can do. Number one is like very basic thing, and this is being mandated globally. Everyone is forcing that, which is through the encryption of the data. That data that you send over the internet should be encrypted. Okay, encrypted means it is in putting in some format so that someone unauthorized person goes and tries to read the data, they should not be able to find it. That data is like logged and it is encrypted. They cannot just make anything out of that. Because since it is garbled up and in certain mode. So that encryption is achieved via an SSL, and that is where it's HTTPS. So when we communicate via a secured protocol, like when you are talking about HTTP is not a secured protocol. HTTP with SSL on top, which is HTTPS, is a secured protocol. So the first thing you have to check is like whenever you are sending a data over an HTTP, is it secured or not? If you see it is transmitted via an HTTP, like when you are sending the data, the URL starts with HTTP, immediately you should put a red flag that there is a gap and my data can be can get compromised here. So first thing to ensure that. So that is one mode. Second mode is like when you are the infrastructure that is there, that can also be open to attack. Like say when you are sending the commands and all those from the server, so may assume that your server is being compromised. If the server has been compromised, how to protect that, that is totally on a cloud server, and how a server has to be protected. There are multiple tools and systems which are available in the market, which has to be put in. And not only that, a regular amount of audit has to be done. So like every 3 months certain audit has to be done on the security to ensure, because most of the if you ask me today, the attack or the when we see about some attack is happening in any of this systems, the weakest point is the people itself, not the machine. So most, if you ask me what is that, most of the cases, the attackers actually try to mimic the action or take the control of any of the authorized user, and on behalf of him they act on it. And that's why email or the mostly they try to attack them via the email addresses, the employee email addresses. They go in that, and through that itself they attack. So that's why and once they get control, I mean the attacker get control of the system, then they can start exploiting whatever they want to do. So first thing is to restrict that. So how do you know that? And most of the cases it is the ignorance of not knowing on this. Like you might get an email, and just clicking a link on the email actually opens up a door for the through which the people enter into the system. So that's why if you see that way, if you are talking about data security, it's not one single measure. There are multiple measures. This is not a one-time job. You have to do certain things. One-time activity or setting up the infrastructure is a one-time activity, but you cannot just set it up once and then forget that my system is secure forever. No, in this case, you have to also do certain routine activity to ensure that your data security or the vulnerabilities does not exist and the data is secured. Okay, makes sense, Mr. Kiran?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got the point. One more thing. Instead of own server, it is better to go for cloud server, right?
No, that's totally based on what kind of an usage you are doing it. But it's like a soft thing. Like when you buy a lot of things are there. It is a own server means you have to maintain it. First of all, it's a capital expenditure. When you go for a cloud server, it's an operational expenditure. That is from the finance perspective. So which one is suited for your need, you have to identify. Number two is
No,
like
but maintenance point of view, for example,
yes.
in cloud there is no need for upgradation. If any new version comes, it automatically gets updated. But in own server, we have to upgrade it, and we have to maintain the data. We have to provide the secure system. So maintaining the own server will be little bit costly as compared to cloud, right?
Yeah, that's why it is happening. No, today, it is not about the large corporation itself, whichever the globally, they are going to move their infrastructure on AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. Why they are doing it? Because they are finding it maintaining their infrastructure on their end. It's a huge liability and a cost which is getting distributed and phased out. And on top of that, the technology like today, if say for a job you are doing and you just need to increase the storage space, or for example RAM, so the server that you are using is 8 GB RAM, and when you are running it you are finding that the RAM is limited and you need to make it 16 GB. Okay, so now when you are on a cloud infrastructure, it is just click of two buttons, your 8 GB becomes 16 GB, you don't have to worry about it. But when you have to do it for your own server, that means you have to first place a requisition. The requisition has to go to the purchase procurement department. They have to check their budget. They have to approve it. So once the approval is done, then it goes to the vendor for that quotation. Vendors will send the quote. Whichever quote comes in better, they will select that. Then the whoever is selected will place the order to the vendor will then go and purchase it. Then they will say, okay, I have a lead time, I will supply it in next 10 days. After that you will get it. After it comes in, then you have to find the IT vendor, means support engineer who is working, who will has to shut down the whole system for even if it 15 minutes is fine, but you cannot without shutting down the servers, means hot plug RAM is not available, so you have to shut down the system and you have to then add that RAM for this, so there is a downtime, and then you have to do it. So now when I'm talking about this, just understand, just increase from 8 to 16 GB of RAM, even how much it will cost. It will not cost more than 5 to 6,000 rupees for the item that you are procuring. But see the time that it is taking, see the process, see the in that case to do it, right? So that is what I'm talking in this case. That is the benefit of the cloud which is coming in, and with respect to your own in-house IT system. And that's why it is becoming so convenient, fast, and easy that the whole world is moving towards that. And now having your own infrastructure and managing, if you are sticking to it, it is not about just the cost or maintaining cost and all those. You are losing so much time, whereas in business today, speed is the biggest factor. Today, for just for this 8 to 16 GB RAM upgradation, if the result takes 2 weeks of time, that means you have lost 2 weeks, because if you had been using a cloud, you could have done it in 15 minutes. Got it? Okay, so let me move on to it. I was talking about, so just to bring back into the context, is like other the challenges of implementing IoT. I was talking about high investment cost, data security, and threat, which we are discussing. Third is the connectivity outages. The connection means mostly the internet connection get lost. Apart from that, there are internal connections are also there that can get disconnected, or there can be interruptions there, which can create problem. So those challenges comes in. Fourth is blending with the legacy systems. Certain legacy systems are not so modern, cloud ready, and has its own kind of way of working, which cannot be just changed overnight. So if you have to talk to those systems, and mostly these systems are like the old SAP system. Like if you are using an on SAP system, and the SAP system is say not that modern one as for HANA, you are using some EWM or a ECC system which is set 15 years ago, which you have been purchased. Now, if you say that no, I want to connect with this SAP system with this one, it's a huge cost. Either you have to bring an SAP integrator because it's so old. The old people and new people, they don't know it. They have to find someone out. Then breaking that data out, they don't provide anything in the API. So they have to export that data out in file and give it to you. So that becomes again a complex process. So that's why there has to be certain strategic level decisions has to be taken when you are talking about modernization of the system, or bringing in Industry 4.0. So it's just that it's not that easy always, though it looks good on the, yes, when I'm talking about the benefits, it looks very good. But when you are the ground reality where you are standing, it cannot be just one jump. It has to be done in a phases and step-by-step manner, because not much of changes or not much I have done very recently, number one. And number two is like the modern system which is coming in is like coming with a very disruptive way, which sometimes prompts that you cannot use the old system, totally migrate to the new system, and that is how it is there. And finally, one of the biggest challenges is the skill gap. That is what I'm seeing more, because a lot of things which we are talking about Industry 4.0, number one is not taught in our industry curriculum, means academic curriculum. So people coming out from technical institutions, very few know or learn about all these things. Like if you are talking about those topics of IoT, cloud, big data, analytics, robotics, very few of the students, if you take any fresh graduates, very few of them will be knowing about them. I mean, forget about using them. In certain cases, they don't know the term altogether. So, and now we are going to implement that. That means they have to either upskill them. So you have to give that time, due time, so that your team gets equipped, knowledgeable about those topics, sessions, and then use them. Most of the cases, they will be user. If you are from manufacturing background, maybe you are user of those systems and you will not be developing those systems, but maybe you are maintaining the system, but doing even using and maintaining certain technical details are there, which is today a gap is there in terms of the academic institution coming. Fine, it is not like that everything is done in our academic curriculum teaches everything that we do in the industry. So there are a lot of things which is done, and that's why the apprenticeship and GET, and they work on the with along with the industry, because they learn in that process which they are not which they have not learned in their curriculum. So learn through that. But today with the Industry 4.0 challenges happening is like even in the industry itself, we don't have a lot of people who can train them on that. So everyone is learning. That becomes also a big challenge, which we are also seeing. There are certain organizations are also working in segments, be it for automotive and all those, trying to set up those kind of an upskilling. There are certain initiatives from the government also coming in, where under the NSDC points, and they are trying to upskill that, but it will take time. It will take time. So with the skill gap and whatever resources available, what we can manage, that is where becomes that needs to be understood. So uh, I think these are the main 5 challenge. So with this, I will come to the main topic of the day, and maybe I can take a short stoppage or a pause here. Maybe if you have any questions, you can raise them. We can have a short discussion and then move on to the main topic of the day. You can also share. I hope it was useful. It is getting addressed certain points that you have in mind or doubts in mind. I could touch upon those points. If not, please highlight them. Feel free to talk about that or put in your chat window as a questions, because when you have the Q&A session, we can talk about it. Okay. Anyone, any kind of, which when I'm talking about Industry 4.0, what is IoT, and how IoT works, what are the benefits of IoT, what are the challenges of IoT. So hope you have some clarity based on my presentation and my point of view. Let me know. No, I can move on. Abhilash.
Yeah, so Vijit, I guess there are no questions, so you could move ahead.
Okay. Maybe my session is not
Maybe
that
later there will be questions. Yes.
okay, good. So yeah, so coming to the main point, I have 5 points which I've listed as a top 5 IoT myths. And when I talk about this myths, means these are certain common statements that I have come to hear from industry practitioners, users, or people in the industry. They have raised those points when I'm been, because in my job I have to go and talk to them about selling some IoT solution or proposing some IoT solution and trying to do some assessment for them. So for industry 4.0, set up the digital transformation path. So this is a part of the my job that I do. But while doing that, I face certain questions and queries, like which they feel from the industry perspective or from the practitioner perspective, which they feel is a big challenge for them, and that's why I want to highlight on them. Number one, which is coming, is like IoT is too big and complicated. So sometime come to hear this is like when I'm talking about, why don't you say, for example, why don't you implement IoT in your factory? And if you do that, I know these are the problems that you have been talking about. It can be large part of it can be addressed. The common thing that I come to here is like, no, IoT means it's a very big elephant out there, and it's too complicated. We don't understand it, or we are not sure if we are doing that, we'll get value out of it or not. uh, and the basic thing is like, and if you come to here, and the other thing, the next statement which is on the screen, and that is also I have come to here, is like IoT are for big large companies. IoT is not for us small companies. It is, or because it's about the cost, it is the all those things together. Someone having more than one factories, then only IoT can bring some benefit. With single factory, I am only there always. Why do I need IoT there? So let me come to the facts. So first of all, the cost of implementation of IoT solutions are falling. This is, you have to understand, hear me loud and clear. Here, when you're talking about IoT, it is no more about some costlier solution, and that is what I'm talking about. Once you bring in this IoT or the industry 4.0 certain aspect of it, the costs are coming down. Why the costs are coming down? Mostly because the IoT sensors and hardwares, continuously the business are working towards it, and to come because the main thing is are the chips which is there, the electronic circuit which is there. So you have seen that, right? The cost of our chips or electronic systems have continuously been on the reducing price. Only thing is like when you come with a faster, better version, or a newer version is launched, that comes at a premium cost maybe, but after certain period, it goes down. So same for in the IoT also cycle, which has also already kicked in, is like you will see that the hardware costs are coming down. Number one, cloud solutions today, if you see, are quite available and affordable. It's not like that, because earlier when you have to do something, means not only IoT hardware, even to manage that and support that, I have to buy my IT hardwares, means the servers, racks, and all those things also has to be purchased. Sometimes it remains in the mind, we need to do that. Today it's very simple, you don't have to worry about. Is like you can just go and activate an account by few clicks, and your cloud servers are activated and you are ready to go. So, and those programs are quite affordable, and there are certain cases we can always reach out, like AWS, in certain points and scheme we can reach out to them, manage some credits, and make things working when you are running in a pilot mode. It's possible. We have done it for a lot of our clients to do that, talking to understanding their challenge in terms of pricing, and talking to the respective cloud solution providers, and working out a better plan for them, which we have done for them. Also trying to also minimize, optimize, so that the cost doesn't go very high and all those. So that also we do. And on the other side, another thing which is coming in is like the IoT softwares and the stack that you are using. A large part of them are open source. When you are talking about Arduino as a hardware, which is a board which is can sit next to your sensors and read the data out and send control signals to it, and on the other side can, so the Arduino or ESP8266 is there, are small boards and systems are there. Most of them are open source. So like and you can just go and buy it at a very low cost, and if needed you can modify on top of it as needed. Same way Node-RED is a development tool which runs on the Logger device, and it can connect to your PLC sensors or whatever protocol you want, whatever sensors you want, you can connect to it, control it, build a very drag and drop way small application without having a coding knowledge. That is what Node-RED is about. This is again a free tool which you can use. Okay, the OpenHAB, which is again a automation software, which is for mostly used for home automation, but certain cases in our commercial or industrial context we can use. And then same with the middleware which we are talking about, connecting IoT to the other system on the cloud or any other system. We have to do it. IoT says open IoT, there are middlewares are like that. So that's what I'm trying to hint on. The point is like a lot of IoT softwares are being open source. It's mostly only the customization and the implementation cost is what you need to bear. So when you are talking about implementing an IoT project, your IoT sensors and your implementation and implementation and the customization cost is what we need to bear. And then after that, and that's why the cost can be quite low. But the point here is like you need to understand based on your need, you have to connect or talk to the right vendors who can help you facilitate this rather than trying to put cost on top of cost and then show it like it's a costly appear. So it's a one big point of check if any of the vendor you are talking to, and they when you even if you tell them that when you tell them no, my cost budget is this and I want to still I want to do it, and they say no, I forget, this is don't aim for the stars, this is not for you, it's a costly thing, it's only for the selected few. I think it's not a right vendor or a right approach, and you can stay away from them. So it's a check that I can provide it to you. If needed, you yeah, but if a vendor is coming to you, understand your requirement and then trying to see and do certain things which can which you don't know, but they are doing it to make it to your cost. I think they are good partners for you, and you should not let them go. Yes, next one is like I come to here is like IoT is for future. IoT is not for now. If you are talking about yeah, maybe we are thinking too early, maybe next year I will think about it. This year, but let me come to the real facts. Last year, 2021 itself, like 8 billion units of IoT sensors and hardware is being sold. Like it's in the 1 year itself. Okay, so in 2021, the global industrial IoT market has touched 125 billion. So now in that context, if you take that figure and you are talking that IoT is too early and I will do it next year, there is a high probability that your competitor is already using IoT in your business and you might lose business by next year. And you next year your reason will be that I don't have much money or fund to implement IoT. Because why I'm talking about, if you are if you think you have to do something, it is right now to do it, because once you start implementing, getting the results out of it, and when you get the full benefit of your investment in IoT, it generally you can think a lead time of 6 months. So that's why if you think of next year, that means next year plus 6 months, you are you can get something. So think about it, don't hold that. If you think that industry 4. Any of the industry, though I'm talking about IoT, but it applies for certain industry 4.0 technique itself, don't think that I will it is not about that, we will think about it next year. If you are if
Sir,
something is there, try to get it done. As whatever, if you maybe it's not a vendor, you yourself can do certain things itself. There's a lot of knowledge material, a lot of things which is available on the internet. Don't hold on it, start on it with whatever resources you are having. So that is my one sincere point. So that's why IoT is not a futuristic technology. IoT is already in, it is inside your home. It is IoT is driving the how you are ordering your food. IoT is driving how you are riding your a cab or going from place A to B. So every aspect of your personal life is already it is in, and you are taking benefit of it. When it comes to business and when it comes to manufacturing or your most of the cases, if we are very much laid back. That is where sometimes it pinches me more, because technology have taken our personal life is so much driven by these points, and you are taking full benefit out of it, be it in terms of cost, convenience is there. But when it comes to business, we are still using some 10-15 years old systems, and whereas we could have done it much better. And that is where, if you see in this term, where China, how they have bet us is in this context itself. They have gone into the next level, modernized that, and that's why they have been gone into a like the largest manufacturer in the world. So, and we have lost the game. Anyways, so it's not futuristic, it's right now. Okay,